Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Business Week. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine. Plus, global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, well, shares of Tesla are higher in the after hours right now as investors continue to digest those first quarter earnings numbers. Global vehicle inventory rose to 28 days. It's a huge jump from the 15 days at the end of last quarter. Shares higher right now by just about 5%. First quarter revenue coming in at $21.3 billion. That was below estimates of $22.3 billion. Also a miss when it comes to EPS, adjusted EPS, I should say. That coming in at 45 cents versus estimates of 52 cents.
Shares of Tesla up about 5.5% in the aftermarket, but also Tesla to accelerate the launch of more affordable models, like getting a red sticky by our team here at Bloomberg. All right, so let's get to it. With us, Ross Gerber, President and CEO at Gerber, Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management, and also Bloomberg Business Week columnist Max Chafkin. Ross out there in Santa Monica, California. Max here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio, getting ready for another round of Tesla Bingo, which we'll get into in just a moment. Ross, investors like it. What do you make of this report, looking backwards, looking forwards?
Well, I think the good part of the report, because this is really the only good part of the report, is them saying that they're going to accelerate the production of this next gen vehicle platform. And they were pretty vague about what they're calling this, or what robo-taxi is, or is a Model 2 coming. And I think that'll be clarified on the conference call. So, once again, we don't really watch after hours trading because it really doesn't represent all the participants. And we haven't seen the conference call yet. So we'll see how the stock trades over the next several months. But there really isn't any other good news in that report other than them saying they're going to accelerate production, even though they just fired all the people that are in charge of accelerating production.
Hey, Ross, remind everybody, take a step back here, because Carol and I were looking at the terminal a little earlier. You are a longtime Tesla bull until you weren't, and you were a longtime believer and have been a longtime believer in the company. You guys still own a substantial number of shares over at Gerber Kawasaki, but what is your position right now in Tesla moving forward?
So my position is that Tesla is a wonderful company that has enormous potential, with a CEO who has become so divisive that people won't buy the cars. And that's why saying you're just going to produce more cars doesn't address the real issue, is why they're not selling cars today. And that's the issue that needs to be addressed that isn't being addressed. So as a shareholder, we have to assess what the future earnings potential of a company is based off what their business model is. And when we started investing in Tesla over 10 years ago, and we've had a great run up until the purchase of Twitter. And so we've been lowering our position because what we feel is that Elon's behavior has hurt the brand in such a way that consumers actually don't want to buy a Tesla. It's just the best car on the road at the best price. So people buy the car reluctantly at this point. So I think we've got these problems to solve, and I'm not sure if that will be addressed on the conference call today. And that's, and I don't like being called a Tesla bear, because I actually think they could turn the company around pretty quickly if Elon changed his behavior and stopped attacking everybody. But I just don't think that's going to happen. And so I think the bigger issue that isn't being addressed is, it doesn't matter how many cars Tesla makes if nobody will buy them.
All right. So Max Chafkin, come on in. You guys do the Elon Inc. Podcast. You're constantly looking at what he says, what he does. You're looking at his assets, his portfolio. Your initial thoughts on kind of the headlines we got from the company.
Yeah, just to kind of underline, Ross is saying something like this, but like the note about the new products is very vague. It doesn't say we're going to have a Model 2 and it's going to come out on this date, which is what many investors had been hoping for. It sounds like it's saying, if I'm reading it correctly, they're going to try to essentially make the current models more affordable. Now that obviously could allow them to sell more cars, but it's a slightly different spin on things than what many people have been expecting. The other thing is, as Ross is saying, on a Tesla earnings day, what Elon says, and more importantly, how he says it, is just as important as what's in these numbers, because he is going to hopefully, anyway, clarify some of this. We'll also hopefully get a sense of like where things stand with robotaxi, where things stand with potential affordable cars, and investors seem to react to based on his optimism. A couple quarters ago when he was in this kind of dour mood, we saw the stock go down. So it's like, do we get an optimistic version of Elon or the kind of very dour, pessimistic Elon?
Well, I wonder if you have a question for Ross, Max.
Yeah, Ross, what is your reading on this product, on this paragraph about the product?
Well, I think you're dead right about the two things you just said. Number one, they're of course vague because of the legality of it if they put this down and they don't do it, right? And since nobody seems to know what Elon's going to do, and I'm sure that everybody understands that nobody within Tesla knows what the business plan is either, because they just don't at this point. But I think secondly, a lot of it will be, how does Elon answer these questions from investors during the conference call? And what you said is right. If we have sort of a very positive Elon and he's refocused and he's going to be working at Tesla more, and he can play the room right. Maybe we get a little rally in the stock, but it doesn't change the fundamentals. If he doesn't play the room right, this becomes a bloodbath. So, I'm just hoping that he understands the damage that he's done and starts to mitigate this versus diving in and sort of doubling down.
It will be interesting to see if Twitter comes up, or X comes up, because there is this question and this sense that he's spent, gee whiz, a lot of time talking about X, tweeting about X, doing X-related things. There's even a potential, they're going to have a Grok integration inside of the Teslas. And I think that to people who are really bought into the EV story rather than the, Elon Musk genius story, which those are two important constituencies here, I think, for Tesla stock, they would like to see him spend less time on his social media network.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just less time. It's what he's saying. It's like, it's not the time. It's that what he's saying oftentimes is super divisive and basically racist. So it's like, it's really hard to sell products to people when the CEO says things that are really hurtful to people, including me for that matter.
No, and we've talked with you about that. Absolutely. Ross, what could Elon say on the call, or Elon and company say on the call, that would make you more excited about the company, or once again say, kind of, oh, Elon, really?
Well, if I had my dream come true, he'd say, I'm coming back to work at Tesla, because he basically doesn't work at Tesla. And he would say, I'm done tweeting all this garbage in politics. I'm going to really focus on advancing sustainable transportation and energy, and that we're going to release this lower, priced car and the strategy that we all bought into 3 years ago, and the stock was at all-time highs and earnings were going up, 50, 100% a year. It was like a different world than today. And it's amazing to me he doesn't understand this difference that really is his responsibility. And so as a shareholder, I have to say it's an extremely distressing time, because the valuation of Tesla is premised off all these great technological innovations, none of which have come to fruition yet. So his focus is 100% what needs to be happening right now.
Hey, Ross, I do want to just end with one last question about the cost of producing these vehicles. It seems like Tesla is doing everything it can to bring down the cost of producing these cars, the cost of goods sold too. What numbers do you want to see there?
Well, they are, but their margins continue to go lower. If you look at the report, which I've only had a minute to look at, their vehicle margins continue to go lower. Their operating margins go lower. Their net margins go lower. Yeah. So they're able to lower the price of the car, but what they're not able to do is keep that going as fast as they're lowering the price of the vehicle. So it's still hurting them, even though they're lowering the cost of the car. And it does bring in a bigger market, but you're not creating any demand. And this is, I have said it 100 times, every company in America advertises for a reason. People need to know why your products are superior. And all the Tesla people bought in Teslas, so all these YouTubers can tweet all they want, but everybody who wanted a Tesla bought a Tesla. So you got to get new customers, and the new customers are being told that charging sucks and EVs are bad and this and that. And Donald Trump says they're bad. And this is all they see all day. And then it's like, why would they go buy a Tesla? Because there's not one ad anywhere that tells you how great the cars are, because they are great.
Right. And you still own them, right? Real quickly, yes or no?
Yeah. I do. I just don't understand why they don't tell people how great their vehicles are.
All right, Ross Gerber, so appreciate it. We know you've got to, I think, run over to our TV guys, President and CEO at Gerber Kawasaki. So appreciate you joining us.